The night I tried to disappear from my own life was the night fate decided to drag me straight into it. I was standing under flickering cafe lights, rehearsing excuses in my head, telling myself that skipping a blind date was not cowardice but self-preservation, when a single name flashed in my thoughts like a warning siren: my CEO. The woman whose footsteps made entire conference rooms fall silent. The woman I had spent months avoiding in hallways, elevators, and meetings, terrified that one wrong glance would cost me my job. I had no idea that the universe was about to sit her across from me with 2 cups of coffee and a smile that would unravel everything I thought I knew about power, fear, and love. And before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us how unexpectedly beautiful life can be, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It truly means more than you know. My name is Ethan Miller, and I was the kind of employee companies love because I kept my head down and never caused trouble. I arrived early, left late, and stayed invisible. That invisibility was not accidental. A year earlier, a messy layoff from another company had shaken my confidence to the core, and when I finally landed a job at Larkspur Tech, I promised myself I would never stand out again. At the top of that company was Amelia Carter, the youngest CEO in the firm's history, a woman spoken about in hushed tones, admired from a distance, and feared up close. She had a reputation for brilliance and emotional distance, the kind of leader who could dissect a failing strategy with surgical calm. The first time I saw her in person, standing at the head of the boardroom bathed in morning light, I felt small in a way I hadn't felt since childhood. From that day on, I perfected the art of avoidance, choosing stairs over elevators, different lunch hours, and seats at the back of every meeting, telling myself that admiration was safer when it stayed abstract. Loneliness has a strange way of creeping in when you think you are protecting yourself. My days became a loop of work and silence, evenings filled with takeout containers and half-finished movies. It was my sister, Laura, who finally intervened, insisting that I needed to meet someone, reminding me that hiding was not the same as healing. When she signed me up for a blind date without my consent, I felt betrayed and exhausted before it even began. Still, on that evening, dressed in my safest jacket and lowest expectations, I showed up out of obligation rather than hope. I told myself it would be an hour of polite conversation and then I could retreat back into my carefully controlled solitude. What I did not expect was the sudden stillness that fell over me when I saw her walking toward the table, confident yet hesitant in a way I had never seen at the office. Amelia Carter, without her armor of authority, looked almost human, almost vulnerable, and the ground beneath my certainty began to shift. Fear does not announce itself loudly, it tightens your chest and makes you question reality. My first instinct was to leave, to invent an emergency, to escape before she noticed me. The power imbalance screamed danger in my mind, every professional boundary I had respected flashing red. But there was also something else, a quiet curiosity in her expression, a gentleness that didn't match the legend built around her name. I stayed, frozen by a mix of panic and politeness, and as the evening unfolded, the image I had constructed of her slowly cracked. Without the stage of the office, she spoke of long hours, of the pressure of expectations, of the loneliness that comes from being admired more than understood. I realized then that avoidance had robbed me of seeing people as they truly were, reducing them to symbols of fear instead of complex human beings. The days that followed were a blur of internal conflict. At work, I felt hyper-aware of every email and passing glance, terrified that the personal and professional worlds were colliding in a way that could only end badly. I considered quitting, convinced that my presence alone was inappropriate, that my feelings were a liability. Amelia, however, maintained an unwavering professionalism, giving me space while acknowledging me with a warmth that made my resolve wobble. Outside the office, our connection grew slowly and cautiously, built not on grand gestures but on shared silences, on the relief of being seen without judgment. I began to understand that power did not erase vulnerability, and that strength could coexist with kindness in ways I had never allowed myself to imagine. The real challenge came not from the world around us but from within me. Years of self-doubt whispered that I was out of place, that someone like her deserved someone fearless and extraordinary. Every step forward felt like a risk of humiliation and loss. Yet, with each passing moment, I noticed a change in myself. I spoke up more in meetings, offered ideas without immediately apologizing for them, and felt a quiet confidence take root. It wasn't that Amelia changed me directly, it was that being seen by someone who carried such responsibility yet treated me as an equal forced me to confront the smallness I had accepted as my identity. As weeks turned into months, the line between fear and hope blurred. We navigated the complexities of our situation with care, transparency, and respect, proving to ourselves that maturity could exist even in emotionally charged circumstances. I learned that avoidance had been my way of controlling outcomes, but control was an illusion. Life was always going to surprise me, challenge me, and occasionally scare me into growth. The blind date I almost skipped became a mirror reflecting the parts of myself I had neglected, reminding me that courage often arrives disguised as inconvenience. Just before the end of this story, I want to ask you something. Please pause for a moment and comment below with one time in your life when you almost walked away from something important, because your story might be the encouragement someone else needs today. In the end, there was no dramatic revelation, no sudden victory over fear. There was simply acceptance. Acceptance that love does not always arrive on our terms, that the people we fear the most may be the ones who understand us deeply, and that hiding protects us from pain but also from possibility. Standing where I am now, I know that avoiding my CEO was never about her power, it was about my own. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that growth often begins where fear lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs reassurance, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive, and together, we can remind each other that sometimes, the blind dates we fear most are the ones that teach us how to truly see.